Last time we took a look at what decks might switch over to the new OverTrigger from Festival Collection 2023, the Spiritual King of Ignition Valnout, who has the additional effect when you drive check this on your turn, you choose one of your standing rear guards and it gets the ability where once per turn, at the end of the battle that it attacked, you can restand that unit. Or if you do not choose a rear guard, you can draw one card and call out a card from your hand. So either way, this gives you an additional attack. However, there is another OverTrigger in Festival Collection as well. We have here the Spiritual King of Waterworld, Idospharo, I think it's what it's called. And it has an additional effect when this is drive checked. You can choose one card from your drop zone, add it to your hand, and then choose one of your units, and until the end of this turn, they get an additional critical. So we're gonna have to go ahead and take a look at this tier list we made and just take a look and see if, well, anything will still use the red new OT, or if they'll switch over to the blue OT, maybe either red or blue, maybe stick to their nation OT, or finally have an option of playing any of these OverTriggers. So we'll just skim through what we had here before. This is when we went over just the new red OverTrigger, and we've added in 2 new tiers here. We've just kind of updated this one to include the blue OverTrigger. But let's just go ahead and start rearranging things. Drag Jeweled here, I think still wants to stick with the red OT over both the Dark States and the blue OT, getting an additional critical. Well, actually, let me think about that. Getting an additional critical actually might not be that bad. Now that I really think about it, I think it can actually go either way. We'll pull in Makani as well, because getting the restand with your unit is pretty good. I actually think maybe even Chaos wants just the blue one, because you can do a lot of things with Chaos. We'll jump over to Chaos and go back to Drag Jeweled, because you can add back your Makanis if they're in drop. You can add back your order if you used it. You can give your Makani a critical trigger who can restand with that crit, but at the same time he's already restood once because of the way the activation works. So maybe actually it could go either blue or red, maybe even either way, but I think this is maybe more potent, one of these two versus just the vanilla Dark States one. Actually, no. I keep flipping-flopping, but I think, yeah, we'll put him here. I think it can go really either way. Because getting pressure on Chaos, the Vanguard swing is good because he has 0 pressure. Being able to give Makani the ability to restand again 100 million, good. Especially if you slap Queen Lu on that. Giving Makani a crit after it restands, also pretty good. And then either one of those is obviously pretty good. So for Chaos, we're actually going to put him in either way. You can play either one of them. I think I'm leaning more towards blue or red if I really had to choose. So I guess let's do here. If I really had to choose, no, I don't know. Let's just put him there. For Drag Jeweled, both versions of Drag Jeweled is kind of the same situation where they minus your opponent's Vanguard to 1k. This one gets a crit. This one needs to do something to get a crit. But either way, we're talking about the rear guards here who can restand, but they restand on Drag Jewel's attack, which is why you can't activate the red one because they will be standing. However, giving them a crit there, I guess would still be good, to be honest. I feel like getting the pressure on the rear guards is more important than the Vanguard swing because you already have the crit. Getting 3 crit and 10k is, nice, but it's a bit of overkill, I think. So I think we can go either way for both of the Drag Jewels here. Next up, we've got Graham Grace here. I definitely don't think Graham Grace wants the Nation OverTrigger, even though it can play some grade 3s. But choosing between the red and the blue, I don't feel like the blue does enough for Graham Grace. I can bring back Persona Rides if it Soul Blasted it out, but that's a little bit situational. Getting a crit on something is fine. I don't think it's groundbreaking, so we're going to leave that there. For Hexorb, at the very least, I know the Aquamarine might want being able to give something a crit. I think it might be the same for Hexorb normal. I think she probably wants more the blue than the red, to be honest, because she already gives massive power. So the restand would be nice, but also giving a crit. Well, no, I think Hexorb wants red, and then blue Hexorb wants blue. I think that's how that's gonna go. Thegria is actually something that we can talk about a little bit differently now, because we've actually at this point in time got revealed that the new Thegria and what she will do. Keeping that in mind, I think Thegria wants the blue OverTrigger, because you can return a lot of your pieces from drop, like your extra Thegrias to then use for next turn. You can also give your Thegria or a unit that you might restand. Actually, no, you can't give it because the unit you restand has to be already rested. But you can give it to Dark Thegria so she can swing in with a crit and 100 million power, which I think is more powerful than the Nation Overtrigger. She doesn't really have the craziest rear guards, I think, so I think the blue one is better for Thegria. MLB still wants the red one. Whereas Phantom Blaster, I think it can go either way, blue or red, because you can have your Blaster Dark swing in with drive checks, so having that a crit to begin with, as well as your Vanguard having a crit, I think is really good pressure. As opposed to maybe just restanding it, but it restanding with drive checks is also good, so I think it can go either way, not so much for the Nation Overtrigger. Youthberg, or, well, Solarian here, I think can also go either way. Youthberg, if Youthberg wanted crit, because he re-rides, it depends on really the units you play with it. I guess it could go either way. I could even argue Youthberg might even be able to play the Nation Overtrigger, because again, sometimes they have extra grade 3s that they can throw out there and get the drive checks off of that, so we'll put that there, I think. Heroes, I don't think we want the blue Overtrigger. It would be nice to add a base from drop, but that's about it. The crit on a rearguard is kind of whatever. I think a restand is much more potent, just because it increases the number of attacks, and this deck is already limited to how many attacks it can do. So I'm going to say red. Grand Fia can already restand and give a unit a bunch of power, so it really depends on the swing, your swing pattern. I think go either way. I think honestly Grand Fia might even like either. The Nation Overtrigger is not that bad for Grand Fia, because again it already restands, so it can give a crit. So it's very similar to the blue Overtrigger, which is kind of the case for most of Storkea, is that the blue Overtrigger is kind of overshadowed by the Storkea Overtrigger, because it kind of does that already and more. The only thing it has is the ability to recycle something, which might be good in some decks, but this is a one-off that we're talking about, right? So, Leonore in here, giving something a crit, I think is pretty good, honestly. She's another one that can go either way, but being able to get your Renaissance Dragon is actually pretty good, so we're going to put that there. Let's see, next we got Maelstrom here. I think this could also go either way. And then Green Deku here, I don't think you want the crit. I think you definitely want to stay with red. And then because of the dragons, prison dragons, you want Jorga to play the red. Leonore, does she want the blue one? Or not Leonore, I always do this, always. Lornorol, even with the new cards, who I'm not super familiar with at the time of this, I'm gonna keep it here, because I don't think it wants anything else. I realize I don't have a tier for like red and also the Nation or anything like that, but that's just adding too much. Next up, we've got the Token Rambu fellows. Let's see, I think, if I remember this correctly, because they can all play a lot of the same cards, and they all have like a unit that can restand, and they can switch attacks, switch columns, or not columns, but switch rearguard circles, units on rearguard circles. So I'm going to say off the top of my head, you can go either way. You can go either way. You can go either way. I think they can all go either way, honestly. The regular Ragnarok fellas, I had to go ahead and do a little bit of research here just to double check. So Zeus apparently already restands a unit. So I think Zeus maybe wants the red OverTrigger. Poseidon, I think it just gets a drive check. So maybe either way. Labu only attacks everything in the front row. So maybe the crit pressure. You might want to play the blue OT into Saki because he can actually restand and he already gets a crit. So you can get some crazy pressure in and he always binds PGs. Not that that really matters because it's not like there's any way to bring PGs back in many decks. And then Thor, I think can go either way. Doesn't really affect him too much. Adam gives a lot of power to himself in rearguard, so I think maybe the crit pressure would be a little bit better here. And I don't know. These might be the same exact deck, to be honest, because I know one is supposed to be the trial deck version of Brunhilde, and then the other one is like the booster Brunhilde, but they're also both not very good from what I remember. So we'll just leave them there for now. And then Ebisu, I think we'll just stay there. Then let's go ahead and take a look at those that I said would stick to the Nation OverTrigger. For Dragon Empire, I think it's all the same except for Eugene, because of the way that his restand works, now that I know. But he actually doesn't even want the blue one, because the restand removes his crit, the Oswald. So I think it wants the red one specifically. Everything else here, again, can go either way. I still think Jiva can go either way. Sorry, everything here can stay in Nation OT. I think Jiva, people go back and forth on this. It could actually go literally either way with red or blue, because you can restand, go over Arena, get 3 attacks with Guard Strike, 2 attacks for crit, or just get 3 attacks, but then also your Vanguard stands up. All of these are good, I think. I'm not sure which one is better than the other. I think the Vanguard swing is better, but Guard Restrict is pretty good, so we're just going to put that in either way here. But I think for the rest of these guys, it's the Vanguard restand is pretty good. Alter Slaughter. Does Alter Slaughter want a crit? I think it doesn't give itself a crit or anything, right? I don't know, but I do know that for both of these, it would like the crit, but it's only until the end of the turn. Actually, so no, it definitely wants the Nation OverTrigger because it has the Guard Restrict, a pretty big Guard Restrict. So being able to get a crit on that every turn is very strong. Bruce restands at the end of battle. It could maybe play the blue one, but I think maybe at that point just stick to the Nation OverTrigger. Does Jet want a crit? At the end of the turn, it's kind of tricky for Dark States as well, because their OverTrigger already gives them that, but for the entire game. So I think they all, if it's for the crit, as much as it would be nice to give it to a rearguard, I think they'd rather have it on themselves. So we'll keep them there. Where is Unica Mask? Where did I put Unica Mask? I put her in either way. Okay, so we'll get back to her. Unica, yes, it stays here. Bastion, he can, he couldn't use the red because he restands at the end of his battle, so he won't have any standing rear guards. Could he use the blue? I could see Bastion using the blue, because you restand and give crit. You already have the massive numbers, but maybe restanding is better. But also drive checks are pretty good. Or not restanding, because you can't restand. So it's either blue or OT, I think. Nation OT. So we'll put him in, can go either way, but it really just means that it's just red, or sorry, blue or the Nation OT. Then we've got ourselves Arkwright and the rest of the Brandgate gang. I want to say it can go either way, because their OverTrigger also gives crit. and that is pretty good. So I think we'll stick to that, to be honest. And then also, Seraph Snow gives crit as well. So I don't think it needs more crit. If anything, some of them may consider the red one, but I don't think any of them will consider the blue, to be honest. Then we have Stoicheia, the little bit that's left for Stoicheia here. Flagberg, I think, would actually not mind the blue OT, being able to pull back one of your flag, inlet pulses or persona ride from drop seems pretty good. Being able to give Flagberg a crit with the huge guard restrict, some people just take that attack anyways, so that's pretty good to put in some pressure. Of course, the Nation T does the same thing, but I'll put Flagberg here, even though I think it can go for either or, just because Flagberg is a little bit more piece reliant, so getting the extra card from drop might be more important than just drawing 2 cards. Then we've got ourselves Leonore Mask, who can stand the front row. So she couldn't use the red OverTrigger because you attack with the front row first and then restand them after the battle, I believe. And would you want to give them a crit? I don't think it would hurt, but I think the Nation OverTrigger would be better. Clarissa does have a restanding weird, but I think it's at the end of battle. So that's attack first, and then Vanguard swing, and then the rearguard attacks. But I think just for the nature of Clarissa having a full board, I think she would rather have the Lyrical OverTrigger. Hazuri would not actually mind, I think, the crit, because she can't use the red OverTrigger because of the fact that her unit will go to the bottom of the deck, but that unit having a crit would not be half bad, unless, of course, she gets a restand in the future, which she does not have. Herminia might actually maybe play the blue one, but I think it probably sticks to the national team. But there is maybe a little bit of merit to playing the blue one, because you can bring stuff back from drop, which is whatever, but you can give your rearguard that swings in with a drive check a crit, which is not half bad, but I think the Lyrical OT is probably better. Kyoka's units restand afterwards. There's no units really that restand or that are standing that can restand before the or after the Vanguard swings, I should say, so they can attack in twice with a crit, is what I'm trying to say. So there's no situation where that'll really happen, which is unfortunate. And I think most of these want to stay where they're at because they all have restands at the end of the Vanguard attack here. This girl here, I don't think she really matters, or she doesn't care for which OT it is. I think she wants a full board as well. Restanding with a crit might not be half bad for Tia, so we'll put it with like Bastion, where maybe she can also play the blue one. Michu here giving a crit to Nonokwa might actually be not half bad, because it'll be a little bit harder to guard, so maybe that can go either way, for blue and for national team. Not so much the red one, but maybe it could. Then next up we've got Shaman King here. So Hal, I think, wants to stick to the nation one. The only one that maybe wants to change over is Joko, because he can restand himself multiple times, and having a crit that turn would be a lot better. Other than that, I think that's about it. Maybe Yo, but the OverTrigger for that nation is a little too strong. He already gets a crit, so it might not even be worth it. Then finally we have whoever we had in the either way. So we have Barrow Magus here. I don't think Barrow really wants the blue OT. I'm gonna say that he actually just wants the red OT. Bruce, I think, can still go either way. Can he also play the blue one? He can. You know, it wouldn't hurt. Same things for Vietnamese Bruce here. I think it wouldn't be bad. Lukier might be the only deck, I think, that honestly can use any of them next to Jiva, maybe. Youthberg, I don't know about the blue one for here. But yeah, because Lukier getting the 10k in crit on Vanguard, pretty good. Getting your Rising Dragon to have a crit, pretty good, right? And then getting your Rising Dragon to restand or something like that. Also pretty good. I think maybe the blue is maybe not as strong, but I think it's definitely a playable option. I was gonna say Leonard Mask, but this is a Unica or a Stroya Baiko Mask here. I don't know. Maybe I think we're gonna toss this back up to just red only. I think that might be the better play there, because I don't think the Dark States Overtrigger helps out this version specifically as much, even though she does get extra drives but not crits. It might be helpful, but I think you rely more on just checking stuff instead of just a Vanguard being threatening, as opposed to the original version where the Vanguard is a lot more threatening because you have the triple drive and crit. Magnolia Elder could technically go either way for any of the 3 Overtrigger options, honestly, but I definitely think the red one is way better, so we're gonna slap that up there. Might be the same for the grade 3 version. Yeah, it's probably the same for the grade 3 version. I think if I had to choose one or the other, the red is better just because Gnosla is the thing. So, as well as the multiple guard restricts that are in the deck, I think red is way better. Minerva is a bit of a tricky one because, as you mentioned, on the first Vanguard swing, the red one does not proc, but the blue one might, which is really good. On the second Vanguard swing, the red one can proc, and also the blue one would still be useful because you can give a crit to something that you just called out. I also don't think it's that bad if you check the OT and get a bunch of extra cards in hand, the Nation OT. So I think she can still go for either of these. So the 2 light and dark girls here can go with either Overtrigger. Ella Steel here will re-ride in the future, but probably maybe the Lyrical Overtrigger a little bit better, or the red Overtrigger. Kyrie might actually not be, might benefit from the blue one as well, so we'll keep her here. Lutetia, blue wouldn't be horrible. Could technically return a cursed play from drop if needed, maybe even like the Blitz Order if you Soul Blasted it out. You can also give her a crit, which is actually pretty decent if you get her on first Vanguard swing, so yeah, that can stay there. The Highlander girl, I think because of the nature of the deck, can go either way no matter what. And then finally the Gukufloria here. Of course, it can play any Overtrigger. I think it would be better with the Nation Overtriggers than one of the blue and red ones, to be honest. But I guess you could technically make an argument for the blue and red ones, maybe, just because of the way the deck works. But that'll do it. I think I'm pretty happy with this list. Most of the decks will stick to the Nation Overtrigger, it seems. That's just because of how strong these Overtriggers are, but a good number of them can go either for the red one or the blue one. So come Festival Collection, the game is going to open up quite a bit just because of 2 cards being released in that set, and that's not even talking about all the other stuff. So very much looking forward to this set. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and until next time, take care of yourself, play Vanguard, have yourself a damn good one.